Uh, my phone notification went off of a news alert, and I looked down to it, and I was in stunned disbelief to see that legendary filmmaker Rob Reiner and his wife had died. They were murdered. And current reports today are saying by Rob Reiner's son, but we won't go into all that right now, be that as it may. And we'll just kind of focus here on, I can't believe we are now living in a world without Rob Reiner. A guy who brought such joy, such contributions to the art, such whimsy, and such powerful films that are some of his movies in the pantheon of like some of the all-time greats, is no longer with us. I mean, obviously it goes without saying, I have never lived in a world without Rob Reiner. Both as an actor and as a director. Of course, I mean, it was a little bit before my time when he burst onto the scene with All in the Family, and he played Meathead in that, which he, was legendary for, all the way up to when he was doing his guest appearances in New Girl. I still have seen him in New Girl. And of course, the great lineage. He came from his father, Carl Reiner, one of the all-time greats, who we just lost not too long ago as well. But, here's the funny thing about Rob Reiner. When you think of him, you would be forgiven, understandably, if you just thought of mirth and whimsy. You thought of things like Spinal Tap, or you thought of things like The Princess Bride and things like that. But, he was a truly multi-dimensional director, because he also did one of the great horror films of all time, one of the truly great films of all time in Misery. He did one of the great dramas, military dramas ever made in A Few Good Men. You Can't Handle the Truth. Rob Reiner directed that. Stand By Me, An American President, which we may be talking about in a little bit. When Harry Met Sally, like just Ghosts of Mississippi. Like he could direct. He wasn't like a lot of the great directors that he had like one kind of movie. He could do just about all of it. But again, we think of him for his whimsy and his humor and the way he could make us laugh and the way he could make us feel. And now granted, full disclosure, I didn't like the new Spinal Tap movie all that much. They took a swing and he missed on it. Whatever, that's fine. But I mean, this guy, there are not many directors, Rob, that have the pantheon filmography that he has. Like not like one, not two, several all-time iconic films. And again, for me, the one that has its most multi-generational impact is The Princess Bride. I don't think it's hyperbole to say one of the most beloved films ever made. And that's the same guy who made Misery, which is crazy and just an incredibly sad day. Rob, you heard about this news. What was your first reaction to hearing it? And when you think of his filmography, what are the films that stand out to you the most?
Well, okay, first of all, I first encountered Rob Reiner because my dad's favorite show was All in the Family. And we would watch it, and he played Meathead, obviously. Yeah. And people don't remember how, you go back and you watch All in the Family clips today, people are shocked because that was one groundbreaking piece of television, and then he always wanted to go, I heard an NPR interview with him before the release of This Is Spinal Tap 2, and he talked about how his father supported him when he became a director because he'd went and directed some short films and plays and things like that. And Carl Reiner was part of the 1,000-Year-Old Man duo with Mel Brooks, and the lineage there is incredible. But in terms of, like, I saw Spinal Tap in the theater, and I thought it was like the most hilarious thing in the world, and then he followed up with Stand By Me, which, had pioneering uses of Introvision, the effects technology that was created. They first used it in Outland. And that was, to me, that was the Stephen King adaptation. That was the greatest Stephen King adaptation that I had seen up to that point.
Right.
And then Misery, he followed up with that. But then you had Princess Bride. I love When Harry Met Sally. It's literally one of my favorite movies. And of course, the casting, all the people that he knew, having like Bruno Kirby and Carrie Fisher as the secondary couple in that film. And then I saw a thing with Harry Connick Jr. today that he posted on Instagram. Harry Connick Jr. was very young. And he was just starting out as a crooner, and Rob Reiner tapped him to sing these classic songs. And as Harry Connick Jr. pointed out, I was a kid, and for him to take that chance on me. And then, of course, you know, with Aaron Sorkin doing both A Few Good Men and doing An American President. Look, American President, half the cast of it later went on to be in The West Wing.
Yeah.
American President was written by Aaron Sorkin, and of course, Jed Bartlett was the chief of staff.
Then President Bartlett.
Then President Bartlett, and half the cast of A Few Good Men, of American President went on to Aaron Sorkin's West Wing, and then Medgar Evers, Ghosts of Mississippi. That film was about the murder of the civil rights activist Medgar Evers, and you know, I saw an interview of Rob Reiner talking about where he was on the spot. I mean, after doing all the research, he was on the spot where Medgar Evers was assassinated, and he just started crying. You know, he was a true Democrat, left-leaning guy, and my parents were kind of that way. And so I understood. I'm more of a classical liberal than he was, but I thought one of the things about Rob Reiner's great pantheon of work was his humanity. You know, he was really all about people, all different kinds of people, and he believed in justice. And to see that this happened to him at the end of such a storied career. I mean, he truly was, when you think about American entertainment, for all you might say about it, is one of the great exports to the world. And if you look at his oeuvre, all of his movies were about the humanity of people. Whether they were quirky people, whether, you know, he did try and look for what made us human. And I think his work really celebrated that. And that's what he was mostly, he loved people. And he loved people with all of our crazy foibles and our problems and our imperfections. He was never mean-spirited about anything in his films. And I think that that's something to be lauded and remembered.
You know what's funny? I was thinking about this morning. Filmmakers dream about one of their movies having a moment, a line in a film that just becomes completely embedded in pop culture, right? Rob Reiner may have the most out of any director, because if I say to you, but it goes to 11, you know what I'm talking about. If I say, and I am the president of the United States,
right,
you know what I'm talking about. If you have, in a girl's voice, faking an orgasm in a restaurant, you know what I'm talking about.
I mean, faking.
I'll have what she's having.
I'll have what she's having. If you say, as you wish, you immediately know what we're talking about. Like, he just, and of course, maybe the most iconic one of all time, you can't handle the truth. Right. Like, he has a plethora of these all-time things. So, Rob, let me ask you this. You go home later tonight, you got some free time, and the mood hits you that, you know what? I'm going to watch a Rob Reiner film tonight. What's the Rob Reiner film you're putting on?
You know what? It's got to be a double feature of When Harry Met Sally and An American President. You know, or maybe Stand By Me. Because, you know, the thing about Stand By Me was that showed that Rob Reiner could really, I mean, doing a fake documentary when he played the character Martin DeBurgi for Spinal Tap was one thing. And you had, you know, all those Christopher Guest, you had Harry Shearer. So many good actors were in that movie. But that was a funny riffing kind of a thing, where Stand By Me, he was working with a script, you know, based on a Stephen King story, The Body, from different seasons. And it really showed that all of Rob Reinerisms that you ever needed to see had their roots in Stand By Me. And that film was so empathetic and it was so human. And it gets me every time. It gets me every time I see it. I mean, River Phoenix's performance. But then An American President, I just, you know, I love Michael Douglas in that movie. And I love Annette Bening, and I love...
He worked with him in Wall Street, right?
And by the way, Rob Reiner was Leonardo DiCaprio's dad in The Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and that was... And he... What is this American Express card bill? He was so good.
I mean... Listen,
but $300,000? It was a lot of appetizers.
Used to fighting gangs for local charities.
So
how directing Andre the Giant is no small feat. I mean, it's again, there are going to be very few. Now, obviously, when we talk about the great pantheon of the great directors, we're going to be talking Spielberg, we're going to be talking Scorsese, we're going to be talking a lot of these guys. But man, when you actually sit back and take a look at the filmography of Rob Reiner, I'm not saying he's on the Mount Rushmore, but he's got to be in the elite conversation.
Yeah.
You know, I put him. He's more folksy. You know, he's more him and Ron Howard.
Dude, I literally was about to say when you said that, and I was going to say Ron Howard.
Yeah, like if you want, like, you know, there's Frank Capra, and he's like the goat of what he did. But in the modern era, I think the people that capture Americana best were Rob Reiner and Ron Howard. Like, you could have a film festival with the two of them because you know, they're not Kubrickian and they're not Spielbergian, or Hitchcockian, but the level of humanity in all of their films. You know, I mean, I would watch like Apollo 13 and American President.
And they're
together.
movies that if they're on, you could just sit down and like, I'm in.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Yeah.
But just a little side note, both of them say they were both we're talking about Rob Reiner and Ron Howard, both of them saying both heavily influenced by American Graffiti.
Right.
George Lucasfilm.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting, and both of them had great success on television as actors first. So they learned their craft in the business. So
It's again, it's just so difficult for me to fathom we're in a world without Rob Reiner now. And that's crazy. And I was asking you the question, the movie you put on. Listen, obviously, you're talking about Stand By Me, Spinal Tap, Harry Met Sally, A Few Good Men, American President. But I mean, it may sound like just the standard one, but for me, it's I'm going to watch Princess Bride tonight.
right.
I'm going to sit down and watch Princess Bride tonight. You know, ready or not, you've been more than fair. It's
For me though, when Harry Met Sally is there something wrong with my face? I'll roll down the window. I could quote that movie chapter and verse.
oh,
Wasn't it like wasn't it in Spinal Tap where they're arguing about the album cover?
Yeah,
I think it's Suck My Love Bump or something like that. And they're like, we can't run this album cover. They're like, you should have seen the one we said no to.
Smell the glove.
smell the glove. Guys, the question is for you. When you think of the career of the great Rob Reiner, whether it's Ghosts of Mississippi or Misery or This Is Spinal Tap or A Few Good Men or Harry Met Sally or, for me, Princess Bride or any of the other stuff he did either as a director or as an actor, what's going to come to your mind tonight when you think about it? If you had some time tonight to watch one Rob Reiner thing, what one thing is that going to be for you? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.